This video was created from the Advocates in Action presentation, Leadership Lessons from Geese. It includes 19 slides and runs for 20 minutes. Slide 1. Leadership Lessons from Geese. Created by Advocates in Action, Rhode Island. Slide 2. About this presentation. This slide is animated, which means the images on the screen move. The animation begins with 3 geese wearing matching baseball hats flying onto the screen, followed by 2 more geese wearing the same hats. The 2 additional geese are carrying a sign that says, Team Gaggle. The geese are carrying this sign because gaggle is another name for a flock of geese. There you go, a winning answer for your next game of Trivial Pursuit. Animals can teach us many things. In this presentation, we'll share some of the lessons that geese can teach us about what it means to be on a team and how to be an effective leader. An effective leader is someone who supports their teammates in working together and reaching their group's shared goals. Slide 3. Lesson 1. Agree to a common or shared vision. The images show a map of North America with a cartoon of 2 geese flying in one direction in the spring and in the opposite direction in the fall. This slide illustrates how geese migrate when the seasons change. Geese migrate in the spring and again in the fall. Migrating means flying from one place to another to find food in warmer weather. Geese also migrate so they can have their babies in the same place every year. A common or shared vision means the set of goals that every team member agrees to work towards. For example, geese share the common vision of migrating together. Many organizations will develop something called a mission statement, which is a summary of the common vision and values that everyone on their team agrees to uphold. Team members must have a shared vision to be effective. Can you imagine how hard it would be for a team if everyone decided to do their own thing instead of working together? They might never get anything done. Slide 4. Lesson 2. Follow your team's plan. The animation on this slide illustrates how geese follow the same flyways as their flockmates during migration. The animation starts with a blank map of North America, which is replaced with a colored version. The colored version shows the different migration paths that geese and other birds follow. Both pictures are replaced with a video of migrating geese in the sky. The migration paths that geese follow are called flyways. Scientists who study bird migration have discovered that different breeds of geese always follow the same flyway. In other words, flocks of geese follow their team's plan to get where the group decides to go. On the last slide, we talked about having a shared vision. Once you all agree on your team's vision, you also need a plan to make it happen. When geese agree it's time to migrate, they use the same flyways, which means they follow the same plan. As a team member, it's important to remember your shared vision and develop a plan that everyone can follow to achieve it together. This doesn't mean your team needs to follow the same plan every time they do something, but it does mean that you should all agree to any changes together. For example, some geese have changed their flyways in recent years due to shifts in weather patterns, but when they decided to change their migration route, they did so together. Slide 5. Lesson 3. Be a leader, not a boss. The animation on this slide illustrates how a lead goose listens to its teammates rather than telling them what to do. The animation starts with a lead goose flying in with some question marks over its head. Next, 3 more geese fly in with the same bullseye target over each of their heads. When these geese enter, the question marks over the lead goose's head change to the bullseye target too, and all the geese fly towards that target together. When you see geese flying in V formation, the lead goose isn't the one who decides where they'll go. Instead, it flies wherever their team agrees to. As we said in the last few slides, it's important for a team to have a common vision and share the same goals. On this slide, we see that it's the leader's job to help their team reach those goals. Being a leader comes with extra responsibility, but it doesn't mean you're the boss. A boss tells people what to do and how to do it. A leader remembers the goals their team agreed on, helps their fellow team members reach them. Slide 6, Lesson 4, Use Your Strength. The images on this slide illustrate how fast and far a goose can fly. There's a cartoon goose next to two speed limit signs. One sign says 40 miles per hour, and the second sign says 70 miles per hour. There's an arrow between these signs pointing towards the one for 70 miles. There's an odometer, which is a device that measures mileage, that reads 3,000 miles. Geese usually fly around 40 miles per hour, but they can go as fast as 70 miles per hour. When they migrate, geese will fly up to 3,000 miles to reach their destination. If the weather and winds are good, they can cover half of that distance, or 1,500 miles, in a single day. Geese are much stronger than most people realize. They use their strength to help their flock get where it needs to go. What are some strengths that you can share with your team? Let's take a few minutes to hear from everyone. Slide 7, Lesson 5, Work Together. The animation on this slide illustrates how geese fly together as a team. The animation begins with 3 geese in flight. Next, the wind starts blowing them from behind, while the geese readjust their flight path towards a cloud that says 9,000 feet. Geese work as a team to get where they want to go. Geese can fly as high as 9,000 feet, but they need to work together to navigate the strong air currents up there. Teamwork is essential because these currents can make it challenging to stay on course. Fortunately, geese are expert flyers and have learned to stick together and combine their strength to stay on course by flying in something called a V formation. Slide 8, Why do geese fly in a V formation? The video on this slide explains how a flock of geese flies in V formation. Let's watch it together and talk about some of the things geese do to work as a team.
You asked us, why do geese fly in a V formation? You see, flying takes a lot of energy, flapping wings, generating lift. Now, all this flapping creates an updraft in the air currents around the bird's wingtips. Another bird can spend less energy by flying in this sweet spot, which is slightly behind and above the first bird. The concept is similar to cyclists riding behind one another in a bike race to save energy. For geese, spending less energy means flying longer distances. In fact, one study found they can increase their range by 70% on long migratory flights. When the lead bird gets tired, it just drops back in formation and another bird moves to the front. Flying in the V formation also lets the birds keep visual contact with one another so they're oriented in the right direction. That way, they don't crash into each other or get lost along the way.
After you've watched this video, think about a time when you tried to walk against the wind. For those who've never tried walking into the wind, we can assure you it's hard, but it's nothing compared to the wind gusts that geese need to fly through. That's why they use the V formation. Now let's talk about the video. What are some of the things you noticed about how geese work as a team? Here are some things we noticed. Did you think of anything else to add to the following list? 1. A bird can spend less energy by following their leader. 2. When geese work together and follow their leader, they can help the flock fly up to 70% farther. 3. When the leader gets tired, it goes to the back and another bird takes its place. 4. Flying in a V formation helps the geese see each other so they can all move in the same direction. Slide 9. Lesson 6. Being the leader isn't easy. The animation on this slide illustrates the fact that the lead goose works the hardest. The animation begins with a lead goose flying into the wind, followed by its teammates. Next, a cloud starts to blow the geese back, but the lead goose presses harder to cut a path for its teammates to follow. The lead goose has the hardest job. On the last slide, we talked about how geese use the V formation to make it easier to fly in strong air currents. The V formation makes life easier for the whole flock, but it's still a lot of work, especially for the lead goose. As the flock's leader, the head goose needs to fly in the front and cut a path for their teammates. Depending on the weather and different air currents, this can be quite exhausting. The same thing can be said for anyone who takes on a leadership role. There may be times when your role as a leader means you must overcome obstacles and sometimes even go against the flow to help your team reach its goals. Being a leader is a lot of work, but seeing your teammates succeed makes it worth the extra effort. Slide 10, Lesson 7, Encourage each other. The video on this slide illustrates how geese encourage each other. The video shows a flock of geese flying overhead. Words of encouragement appear as the geese honk. Geese honk when they're flying to encourage each other. If you're part of a team, encouraging your fellow members can help everyone reach their goal together. The word encourage means to give support, confidence, or hope to someone. Let's take a few minutes to share some ideas about how we can encourage each other. Slide 11, Lesson 8, Leave no goose behind. The two images on this slide illustrate how geese stick together. Image 1 shows 3 geese in flight. This image fades, and the second image, which shows 2 geese in flight, appears. You will almost never see a goose alone. If one goose is injured, 2 other geese will leave the flock to stay with it and protect it until it recovers. The reason 2 geese land with the injured one is so they'll have someone to fly back to the flock with if the injured goose doesn't survive. This lesson teaches us to stand by our teammates and care for one another. If you notice a fellow member who's having a hard time or needs some help, let them know you'll be there to support them, because that's what teams do. Slide 12, Lesson 9, Be a loyal teammate. The video on this slide is about a goose named Juliet who teaches us about loyalty.
This is a story about a loyal goose named Juliet.
A heartbroken goose has become a permanent fixture in a busy Woodstock parking lot.
Well, the goose partner was struck and killed by an automobile there. Now Caitlin Ross reports she is refusing to leave the lot.
The goose has stood vigil in this parking lot for 3 months. Now business owners are hoping someone knows what to do to help.
It's cute and sweet and heartbreaking all at the same time.
Desiree Stewart says the goose never takes a break, never leaves. She just waits for her mate to come back.
They're way more loyal than we are.
Canadian geese mate for life. Stewart says the whole family of geese nested near the parking lot for years. But late last year, a distracted driver hit the male in the parking lot.
Groundskeeper came and told me that the mate had been hit.
Since then, the female has refused to leave, spending day and night waiting.
For 3 months, the grieving goose wandered the same sidewalk, waiting for her partner to return. Luckily, earlier this month, a local wildlife rescue organization swooped in to save the day. Juliet was brought to a rescue center where she'd receive the love and care she so desperately needed. To the delight of everyone, Juliet was recently introduced to a male goose who had been at the center recovering from a broken wing. Although he can never take the place of her first love, rescuers say she seems pretty happy to have a new friend. The staff at Atlanta Wildlife Rescue say, so far, so good. If they continue to get along, we'll eventually release them together.
This story illustrates the fact that geese are fiercely loyal to one another. Being loyal means staying with someone and continuing to support them, even when they're not with you. Geese exemplify loyalty. They mate for life, raise their young together, and will mourn if their mate or their offspring dies. A goose in mourning is a sad sight to see, but it also reminds us of the incredible bond they share with their fellow geese. When you're part of a team, remember to remain loyal, even when you're not with your fellow team members. Slide 13. Lesson 10, Tune out the negativity. The image on this slide shows a goose with water rolling off its back. This example can help teammates remember not to let negative people or distractions prevent them from reaching their goals. You may have heard the expression, like water off a duck's back, which means not to let something bother you. Ducks waterproof their feathers to help them float. Once their feathers are protected, it's like the duck is wearing a raincoat. Water just rolls right off. Geese do the same thing. Just like their ducky friends, a goose protects its feathers so they don't get soaked. There's a great lesson to be learned here for every member of your team. But instead of water, you need to stop negative comments from soaking in. In other words, don't let the bullies and the negative Nellies get to you. This can be hard at first, especially when there's so much negativity in the world today, but the less you let other people get under your skin, the easier it will be. Not reacting to someone else's cruel words or comments can also make that person think twice. And while it may not stop someone from being quite so nasty, you're not doing it for them. This is for you. Slide 14, Lesson 11, Respect and Embrace Differences. The image on this slide shows different breeds of ducks and geese swimming together. This image illustrates that geese are flock creatures who will also accept others. Geese are highly social animals. They like being with their flock mates. If they're raised with other animals, they usually get along well with them too. They're also very protective. In fact, some people use geese as guard animals. You usually won't see geese fighting with each other. Instead, you'll see them working together to make things happen for the entire flock. That isn't always the case with many humans, but it's a powerful way to help make your team the best it can be. Welcoming members who may be different from you will make your team stronger than it would be if everyone were exactly the same. Slide 15, Our Differences Make Us Stronger. The image on this slide is a word cloud of how class members have described themselves on their leadership applications. A word cloud shows a group of words in different colors and sizes. The most common words people shared are the biggest. Some of these common words include kind, funny, helpful, professional, and silly. While people shared a lot of the same words, they also shared some that were unique. Unique means different than the others. In this case, some of the unique words people shared include practical, outspoken, honest, diligent, and listener. This word cloud would be much smaller and less interesting if everyone only shared the same 5 words. Remember, all of our differences make us stronger. Slide 16, Lesson 12. Share the leadership role. The animation on this slide starts with a lead goose that has a sleeping icon above it, followed by 3 teammates. Next, the lead drops back so behind the others, and a new goose takes the lead. This animation illustrates how a lead goose goes to the back of the formation when it gets tired. As we already said, being the lead goose is hard work. They need to stay sharp and be up to the task. Their team depends on them. Because it's such hard work, the goose that flies at the front of the V formation can get tired quickly. When that happens, they don't press themselves and plow ahead towards the finish line. Instead, they fall back and let someone else take their place. In the goose world, there isn't just one leader. Every team member takes a turn flying in the front. Humans take note. Being a leader can be exhausting. If you start to feel burned out, remember, it's okay to stop and let someone else take a turn being in the front. In fact, even if you're not feeling tired, it's still a good idea to stop and let someone else take the lead after you've had your turn. Sharing the leadership role means your team doesn't need to rely on just one person for everything. It also empowers others and lets everyone on the team know that they can be a leader too. Falling back from your leadership role doesn't make you a quitter. Instead, it signals your support for your fellow teammates. In the end, that's what being a leader is all about. Slide 17, Bonus Lesson, Geese are brave too.
We interrupt your day to bring you a goose and another goose and another goose.
Hi, Humphrey. Hi. You love me, don't you? You love me.
Gonna eat your feet.
You love me.
Gonna eat your feet.
You love me. You love
He
me.
loves your toes.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Doodle. Oh, baby goose.
The video on this slide shows 3 geese honking as they interact with their human. There are 3 geese honking throughout the short clip as 2 people talk to them. One goose tries to bite the man's feet, but a second person distracts him from getting too close. Slide 18, Go for Goosey. The image on this slide is from the 2010 version of this same leadership presentation. It shows a cartoon goose flying next to a flock of 6 geese. The text on this slide says, Leadership Lessons from Eagles and Geese. When we've shared this presentation in the past, we included both eagles and geese to illustrate different teamwork lessons. We included eagles because people usually associate them with bravery, which is another important leadership quality. Over the years, though, we decided to skip the eagles and just go with geese. After all, eagles may be brave, but geese are too. Slide 19, The End. The two images on this slide show a goose's head and a goose diving with only its backside sticking out of the water. Produced by Advocates in Action, Rhode Island. Copyright 2025. www.advocatesinaction.org.
Produced by Advocates in Action, Rhode Island, 2025. Nothing about us without us.